Hi, welcome to Storytime with Ellie podcast. Today we will be speaking with a gentleman from South Coast of New South Wales. He works as a freelance writer, has over 100 short stories, published, authored several novels. Let's welcome David Cairns. Did I say that right?
No, you didn't, Ellie.
Say your
It's
last name.
Cairns. Cairns.
Cairns? Wait, we have an
Yeah.
R in there.
Yeah, I know. It did cause some confusion when I was living in the United States.
Oh,
Lots of
my
people can't
gosh.
get that, and actually, even some Australians want to say the R. It's a Scottish family name.
Yes, okay, very cool. Let's just get the volume turned up here. We had some technical difficulties as usual for some reason. I don't know what's happening, but at least we're here now.
Yeah.
Let's get this
Yeah,
going.
we are.
Yeah, now we are. I just turned you up too, so now I can hear you. So we got some
Good.
things going on here. So you said you're from Wales. You said, did you ever live in this country in the United States? You were here for a little bit, or?
I lived in Hawaii for 6 months all up
Okay.
in Honolulu. Yeah,
Oh,
I was there.
oh,
I was there with a missionary group, and we did a couple of training schools and then a couple of outreaches. So
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was very sad to hear what's happened in Lahaina,
Oh, I
because
know.
I visited there. It was 30 years ago, but to see that beautiful little town destroyed was horrible.
Oh my gosh, yeah. What a horrible, horrible thing. And you were there, you lived there, or you were there in that
I
area?
visited there. Yeah, I visited there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was terrible, terrible, terrible. So
Yeah.
now you're in Wales. Where is that? Like, what's the flight? What's the flight to get from there to the United States?
Yeah. So it's New South Wales, which is a state in Australia.
Okay.
New South Wales.
Oh, Australia. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
have
it's Australia.
I have to get my
New South.
map. Okay.
We were named after the country in UK. Obviously, a lot of our towns are named after that. That's our history.
Mhm.
I think, I don't know what the flight is. I think it was about eight hours or something just to get to Hawaii
Oh, yeah. Well,
from
yes.
Sydney.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
Hawaii, because Hawaii is like 10 hours from here on a flight.
Yeah.
New York, yeah. So I was gonna say, for some reason, I think it's like an 18 to 20-hour flight to Australia from New York. Yeah,
that sounds about right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not when.
Yeah.
I said, I don't
Yeah.
want to go plane for 18 hours. Oh, no way, no way.
No, it's a long haul over the Pacific. So yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about David and his work. So how long have you been a writer? How long have you been writing? And how did you get started?
This year, yeah, this
Yeah.
year actually marks my 25th year
Oh, wow.
as a writer, since I started writing, because I was gifted a computer from a friend of mine. He was upgrading his computer,
Yeah, because
and
25 years ago, that was like
he gave me an old 486 computer. Some listeners may remember that.
Mhm.
It had word processing software, and I thought, maybe I'll write some stories.
So were you
25.
writing, yeah, I'm just kind of curious. Were you writing stories before the computer came into your hands?
Not so much. I
Okay.
only wrote them at school. So, and I was good at them at school. And by that stage, I'd been studying. I got married. I had a young son, so I didn't really have time or think about writing. But it was always something I enjoyed.
I got you. Because I was going to ask you the difference, what you were doing prior, and then when the computers came in, how it changed you. But apparently, you grew with the computers.
Yeah, it just seemed like one of those things, when something happens or you're given something or you meet somebody and you go, maybe this is a door opening. Maybe this is an opportunity to do something.
Okay. Yeah, pretty cool. I get it. I totally get that. So just talk a little bit about yourself, or talk a lot about yourself. We're here. But what kind of writing do you do? What kind of, yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the problems I have as a writer who's wandering around in the forest of obscurity is that I haven't really pigeonholed myself into any particular genre, because I read a lot. I read all sorts of different books. That tends to come out in my writing, and I write different kinds of stories. So I write genre stories, but I also write what's called contemporary literary stories. So let's say 5 of my novels are considered contemporary literary. But I also have what's called supernatural thrillers, a couple of those. And in my short stories, I write horror, I write romance, I write science fiction.
Wow.
And I also write things that I call square pegs, things which don't fit into categories.
Oh, love that. I love that phrase. Well, I kind of feel the same way with the podcast, right? Everyone's like, you have to have a niche. You have to have like, what are you going to talk about? I'm like, oh, I want to talk about everything. Because everybody's got a story, right? That's our motto.
Yeah.
A story. Just
Yeah,
like sounds like the same thing with you with book writing. So that's kind of interesting. Can you share like a story like in your book? How about that thriller?
Yeah, so
Favorite, one you want to share.
It's part of a trilogy. 2 books have been published already. It's called the Columbian series. And if you allow me to reach back to my bookshelf.
I won't knock you off the chair. It's fine.
So that's the first one.
Okay. Scorpion's Breath. Okay.
Scorpion's Breath. And that's the sequel.
Wow. Cool. The Scorpion. Okay. Did you want to
That's
talk
the Sorcerer's Tusk. And the third one is called Satan's Choppers.
Oh, wow.
And that's a reference to helicopters, not to false teeth.
Oh, well, I was thinking that's a good one. All right, no false teeth in that book. Okay, so now
so they're kind of funny. They're kind of funny, Ellie, because the books I wrote prior to that were very heavy and serious. This one, for example, Lovesick Love.
Okay.
That took me 2 years to write, and I wrote it during the time of my marriage breaking down. So it's very heavy, it's very intense. After that, I needed something light and fluffy. So I started this series of supernatural comedy thrillers, which are just meant to be entertaining.
What part of your life made you start doing thrillers? Wait, your marriage or just
Just I've always had an interest in the supernatural realm. So as a reader, I really cut my teeth on early Stephen King novels, and he's still one of the great influences on me as a writer. I don't write a lot of long form horror, but a lot of my short stories are horror stories. So I thought, okay, how can I do horror that's not heavy? Okay, I'll do something that's a bit supernatural, and let's have a few jokes, and let's have an angel and a demon and a human who have to work together and have to get on. And so I tried to set up situations which would be amusing.
Yeah, I get you. It's interesting to put that together. Those, I mean, especially, can I ask you how the sales have been on that book and how you promote that book? How you promote that?
Yeah, not great at this stage. Yeah, no, it's the same with all of my work. It's difficult to rise above the crowd. There's a lot of people writing books, publishing books. The market, you could say, is a little saturated, and it's hard to break through that. So I just keep plugging away. Every now and then I meet wonderful people like Ellie, yourself, who give me opportunities to talk about myself and promote myself.
Yeah, because
radio interviews.
Yeah,
I'm very active on social media. But yeah, I still have a day job.
Yes, I get it. So I mean, I was going to ask you. Naturally, I was going to say, what inspired you? But I think I'm going to ask you anyway. I mean, you kind of talked a little bit about the marriage and that inspired that book. And
yeah,
that's all right. What inspired you to even get into writing? Let's just start with this. Do that. Back it up.
I don't know what started it, but I on reflection, I think I was born with it. I think it's a God-given interest in an ability to use the written word to tell stories.
Yeah.
I was good at it at school. I always got very high marks and lots of praise for all the stories I wrote and how I used my imagination in school. And then when I started to pursue that as a hobby, and now it's kind of more of a hobby, it's more than a hobby. I'd call it what do they call it now? A side hustle.
Yeah.
The more I've got into it, I don't know, inspiration comes from anywhere, anytime.
Life's
I can be
adventures. Yeah.
I can see something, I can hear something, even a smell sometimes can make a story happen. I have them in dreams. So sometimes I'll dream a story and I'll wake up and I'll have to write the story.
Hmm. So,
Yeah.
wow. Ooh,
Even public toilets, Ellie.
yeah.
My very first short story that I sold to a magazine, a school magazine in Australia. It's called A Place of Refuge. It's about a beetle and a spider and a fly who meet in a public toilet in a park.
Oh my gosh.
And that happened just because at that time, I had a driving job and I had to go and use a public toilet in a park. And I noticed the insects in there. And from that, boom, I have a little story it's about discrimination, actually, the theme of the story.
But it's amazing the thought process and what goes in and how these stories are created. So I want to just thank you for sharing that right now with us, because I'm sure you speak for many different authors and how they come up with
Yeah.
ideas. And I just wrote a book myself. I'm in the process of writing a book. As we all said, we always want to say we all want to write books, right? We all want to write a book, but we all kind of think about it and say that, meaning in our life and what's going on in our life. You come out and told a story about a fly in a bathroom. About a bath. I mean, that is like really creativity and a lot of imagination went into that story.
Yeah. So there's a lot of writers like me who, some of the people who contributed to the anthology that I recently curated, some of those writers are even more like, I read their stuff and I go, okay, where did that come from? What is that? What goes on inside your head? So yeah, there's a lot of very creative people in this world, thank God. Otherwise it'd be a very boring place.
Yeah, it would totally be. But what else? I started making some lists of questions I do, because there's, like I said, this is kind of a lot going on. So what else do you want to talk about? Or like, what is the most difficult aspect of being a writer? Is it the stories that you tell and people like question you, like say, why would you write that? Or what makes you think that? Or what would you say is most difficult? Or finding
No,
time?
that doesn't bother me at all. Even the stuff that I've written that's been quite personal, and some of my family members have read it. People have read things that I've written, and I remember one story, a guy who read one of my books and told his wife, who'd actually bought the book off me, told his wife not to hang out with me anymore because I couldn't possibly write a book like that and be a good person.
Well, that's what I'm kind of getting at in a nice way.
But
I wasn't trying to say that's what I'm saying. And it's kind of like to even
so
anyone,
I'm not
right?
I'm sometimes my characters, I'm sometimes not my characters. They're sometimes amalgams of different people. And oftentimes, Ellie, the characters I create are simply vehicles with which I explore ideas and issues. So if I have a question, for example, my novel, A Muddy Red River, I don't have a brother, but I was interested in what it would be like to have a brother. So I wrote a story about two brothers who were very different, and I explored those aspects by asking questions through the characters and the events of the story.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I would say it's like writing a script for a movie.
Yeah.
Similar, very similar.
That's right.
Whether it be a car, I mean, same thing, right? You're writers. You're coming up either a script to a book or a script to a movie. Did you ever think going into that? Writing
Yeah.
scripts and stuff like that, or
Yeah.
children's
Yeah,
novels?
I have thought of doing that, but just hasn't quite happened yet. Haven't quite had the opportunity. I keep thinking at some point someone will grab a hold of one of my books and think, that'll make a good film, and then perhaps I'd get invited to work on the screenplay.
Yeah, but it's educating, right? It's educating people on who you are and what you have and what you can bring to the table. So
yeah, that's right. So all things are possible.
Yeah, it's just,
We'll see
yeah,
what happens. Of late, I'm learning to value the process more than the end result. So I'm just working on doing what I do. We talked before about trying to write books for a particular market. The fact is, I have to keep writing books that I would be interested in reading myself. Otherwise, I can't write them.
right.
So I'm not thinking about the readership. I'm just thinking about, this is a story that I would like to read, so I'm going to tell it and hope there are other people who would also like to read this story.
And there's a chance that there are, right? Because that's what,
Sure.
and again, only correlation to me is for the podcast, it's the same thing. You know, you just put it out there, and people say, oh, what's your audience? I'm like, I don't know. It's anybody who wants to listen at this point. That's
Yeah.
what, and it's the same. It's very similar. They're very similar.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So we just keep banging away in this space and doing our thing. It's interesting, Ellie, you mentioned before the line, everyone wants to write a book. That's actually the first line in my pitch as a ghostwriter.
Oh, that's
So
what I want
as
to bring
well
up.
as
Ghostwriting. Yeah.
So as well as writing novels and short stories, I also work as a ghostwriter. And that's part of my pitch. Actually, tomorrow night, I'm going to a business leaders meeting here in the local area. And because it's my first time, they're giving me 60 seconds to make what's called an elevator pitch.
Exactly. I know. Believe
So
me.
my first line of that pitch is going to be, have you ever wanted to write a book? And then away I go for 60 seconds.
Don't forget to say everyone has a story. What's yours?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll bang a few of those things in, and then hopefully I'll get some business out of that. Even one person who comes up and says, yeah, maybe we could do something together. So
and that's what you have.
So
you have to, you just said, when you market yourself, and you have to put yourself in the shoes of the people that are sitting there and how they feel. And I'm telling you, when it comes to writing a book, and you and I, even with that pre-podcast interview, we spoke a little bit about this, that writing. And a lot of people, if not almost everybody, says they have a book they want to write. So why not give them and let's keep the number down. Maybe 8 out of 10 people will say to me, how do you do it? How do you do it? Right? And even now I'm doing, how did you do that? Well, that's what you can market on, right? Because you're going to do that because you're a ghostwriter.
That's right.
And that's what you're going to tell these people, that you can I'll write your book.
Exactly. You've got the ideas, you just don't know how to go about it. Here I am. Yeah.
That's great. I was going to ghostwriter to you too, because I know you said you did that. And I think out of everything today, that is a big, how do you want to say it? I don't know. It's great for you to be able to offer that more than it would be to write the book yourself.
Yeah.
Even though you're being creative, but I'm looking at it I'm looking at it as, say, to help people and at the same time make a little extra money on the side.
Yeah.
The ghostwriter and help these other.
Yes, I certainly, I'm certainly earning more money from my ghostwriting than from book sales at the moment.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm absolutely. Yeah. So what else can we talk about your book? Do you want to talk about any of the stories in your books?
Yeah, well, perhaps we could talk a little bit about, I used to be an animal lover. Let me grab those.
Yes. Thank you. About that animal lover. I didn't know how many books.
So back in 2021, I wrote this. This is my superficial and unscientific zoological memoir. I used to be an animal lover. At the time, I wanted to write a book which had short stories, anecdotes, so part memoir, part short story. And I also wanted to do some essays about issues relating to animal welfare and other things related to animals. So I was putting that all together in one volume. I start talking to my beta readers, people who look at my work before I go to the next stage, and everyone's like, that's not going to work. Really? That's too much. Nobody wants to read that all together. And I thought, but I do. There must be somebody who wants to read all of that, because I enjoy nonfiction as much as I do fiction, and I enjoy short form as much as I enjoy long form. So I thought there must be. Anyway, with nobody to agree with me, I decided to split them. So I published the memoir in 2021, and then I did the anthology, which has the same title, an eclectic and extraordinary collection of short stories. That came out in May of this year. And for that one, I had my short stories ready to go, but not enough for a whole book. So I put out a submissions call in all the writers groups that I'm a member of on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Just put an open call out there for animal-themed short stories, and in came the stories. And then I spent about 6 months working through the stories, curating them. Some were good to go, some needed to be edited, and that is the result. And actually, I'm not kidding when I say that is an extraordinary collection of short stories, because some of the people who sent stories for me, they're brilliant. So that's a great little collection of short stories, and that's my current release until the next book in the Columbian series, Satan's Choppers. That should be ready for release early next year.
Nice. And I know I asked you before, but just speak. Where are you marketing these books? How do people hear them? How do they get to them?
Yep. So I have a website, and everything I do on social media is about getting people back to my website. My books are available not only on Amazon, but also in all online booksellers. So Barnes and Noble, Booktopia.
Okay.
You name it, you can buy my later books on all of those platforms. The earlier books are only available on Amazon, because my publisher does that. So the website is dacairns.com.au. So dacairns.com.au. That's where I try to direct people through all my social media posts. I'm on Twitter. Recently started book talking, so I tried to resist the TikTok revolution.
Okay,
but now, so Book Talk is TikTok for book lovers, writers, and readers.
Oh, I never heard of that.
It's not a separate platform, but it just refers to how we use as writers, how we use TikTok to promote our work. And I picked this up in some of the groups I'm in. They're saying, "Oh, have you tried making little short videos, reading your books, showing off your books, and putting your titles up?" And so I started looking at other writers and how they were using TikTok to promote their books. And actually, that's been, in terms of engagement, that's probably been my most successful venture. I've got more engagement through that than Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn.
And the book that you're writing now, you said it's going to be released. It's called Satan's Choppers?
Choppers, yeah.
Satan's Choppers. And when is that going to be released?
I'm
hopefully around Halloween.
That won't be ready for Halloween. I'm probably about 80-90% through the first draft. So as things go, cut a long story short, should be ready for release early next year, I think.
Okay. So that's the one you're going to run with then. That's the one that you're going to probably really hit hard. Going to hit that really.
Yep, for a while, but as soon as it comes out.
Great title. Going to make.
Yep, as soon as it comes out, I'll run it hard, push it hard for a while, and then I sort of back off and go back into the next one, because there's always the next one.
Okay, so Satan's Choppers. I know it's your book. Are you gonna have like a devil on a motorcycle?
No, I'm not.
That would sell. That would sell in the motorcycle industry, the bikers industry.
Yeah. No, not. Actually, I didn't even think of the chopper motorcycle.
Yeah.
There's helicopters. It's slang for a helicopter, and for a motorcycle, kind of motorcycle with the long forks.
That's a chopper.
And it's also teeth. It's also a slang word for teeth. Do you say that in America? You call them choppers?
Yes,
teeth. Do you call teeth choppers?
Yeah, they do call them choppers.
So it's actually a reference to helicopters, because I don't know if you picked up on the theme there. There's a bit bit of a critter theme. So we've got scorpions, and this one's actually a beetle.
Okay.
This is about beetles. So Satan's choppers will feature dragonflies. Scorpion's breath is set in Thailand. Sorcerer's tusk is set in Turkey, in Istanbul. And
Okay.
Satan's
Right
choppers,
there. It's a very nice area.
yeah, and Satan's choppers will be back here down under, where I used to live in Darwin. It's all the action happens in Darwin, Northern Territory.
Very cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Exciting. Exciting. Very nice.
Yeah, it is.
Very cool. Very nice.
It's just really fun to write a story, and irrespective of whether it sells 1 million or whether I become famous or not, the process, it's just really fun.
Right.
Really enjoy it.
Therapeutic, definitely. And
Yeah.
so you have a website. You just told us that. I'll get that from you also. Again, we'll get it again, from you later, because once we complete the, this podcast, I'd like to always add that on there. But so I mean, you got a lot going on right now. I mean, you mentioned the ghostwriting, which I was really wanted to target on that because I'm going to be honest. I did hire a ghostwriter, and that is right in my book, obviously, because I'm just giving them all the information.
Yeah.
And I actually held that up a little bit because I was supposed to give them chapter 7. I gave them 4, or did something happen with this? So there's a lot. There is so much to write in. Get it done. But
and it's perfectly fine way to do it. There's no stigma attached to it all. I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the non-fiction books they read, some of the fiction too, but a lot of the non-fiction books they read by well-known people, they're not written by the well-known people. They use ghostwriters.
Yeah.
Lots of them.
I hear you. No, I get it.
Because not everybody's good at everything. We've all got our specialties, our skills, right?
And that's what I say about all that stuff. I said, listen, there's people that do this. Hire a professional. Just like if you do electrical work, I mean, I had to plug a light in, but I don't know how to go in there and rewire the house.
So one of my great analogies, Ellie, is when we did some tiling at our home, and for one section we decided to save money and do the tiling ourselves. So in the end, we did an okay job. People who visited the house said, "Oh, you've done a really nice job." We could tell it wasn't great, but we saved money. It took a long time. It was backbreaking. I don't know if you've ever done tiling, but it's really—
oh God, no, I wouldn't even attempt it.
It's a really tough job. Anyway, so when we decided to do the downstairs, we were a little bit more financially comfortable. So I said to my wife, my ex now, I said, let's pay someone. Right? We're not tilers. That was not fun. That was not fun last time. We didn't get a good result. Let's pay somebody who knows what he's doing.
Gotcha.
So we did that, and I watched him work, and I went, this guy knows what he's doing. He's a tiler.
Wow.
So what I say to people all the time is you focus on what you're good at, and spend time on that, invest in what you're good at. And then for the things you're not good at, pay other people to do them.
Absolutely. And that's how it is with ghostwriting. Pay somebody to write your book.
That's right.
Yeah, I get it. I know.
And that's a perfectly legitimate way to do it, because not everybody can. It's not that easy to write. Not everybody can write.
Right.
Even if you've got plenty of ideas, getting those ideas onto paper, not everybody can do that.
Oh, you hire people like you that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Any other thing you would like to add before we say goodbye?
Oh, well, I think one last plug for my anthology.
Yes. I
used to be an animal lover.
Yes. And that probably can have you send me a few pictures of that too.
I wonder if you can indulge me and allow me just to read the blurb for you off the back of the anthology.
Absolutely.
So, I Used to Be an Animal Lover is an impressive and diverse collection of 49 stories by 18 authors from around the world, containing micro, flash, short and longer fiction, literary and genre, traditional narratives, and some weird stuff. This anthology is a celebration of the creatures with whom we share the world. So we've got a story about a spider and a fly and a beetle having a chat in a public toilet.
Yeah, that's funny.
A journalist travels to a Congolese village to investigate strange commercial dealings. That story is called Monkey Business. A paranormal animal detective is called to a zoo to investigate a mystery. The four sacred creatures of Vietnamese mythology meet over coffee to discuss their relevance. I love that one. I actually,
Yeah. Wow.
that was one of the new ones I wrote for the anthology specifically. And I wrote it in Vietnam when I was holidaying in Vietnam.
Wow.
So I was sitting in Hanoi near the lake with my wife, enjoying a drink and looking at the lake. And I came up with this idea of the four sacred creatures, the turtle, the dragon, the phoenix, and the unicorn. And I thought, what if they got together and had a cup of coffee and talked about how they were no longer as relevant as they used to be?
Nice.
So that was that one.
Nice.
Then I've got an arachnophobe woman who learns a hard lesson about the balance of life. A high society dachshund, never quite sure how to pronounce that. He's involved with a Swedish diva and a nosy New York detective. There you go. There's one that was from a lady called Barbara Rain, who lives in New York.
Okay.
So that's got a real sort of hard-boiled comic crime feel to it. It's a very funny story, that one. And lastly, the owner of an exotic pet takes drastic measures to feed his beloved beast. And that was contributed by a Columbian-born New Yorker by the name of John Sanchez.
Nice.
So he wrote that story for me.
Great idea. Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the book. Gotta just read that book. I mean, it does sound really interesting, though. I mean,
oh, it's great. Yeah, really terrific writing, terrific ideas, really interesting characters. Yeah. And don't be fooled by the title. I know I used to be an animal lover, but actually that's only designed to grab people's attention.
Got you.
It doesn't mean I'm not an animal lover.
I got you.
And animal lovers can read this.
Everybody loves animals.
That's right.
David, it was great speaking with you today, and looking forward to seeing your new book that should be out, like you said. We'll watch for that.
Early next year, Satan's Choppers.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. All right. Listen, David Cairns, book author. Great speaking with you here today. And
yeah, thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day, because it's just starting for you over there. I know that.
That's right. I'll have some breakfast now and then head off to my day job.
We're going to have dinner. You're having breakfast. Probably. What day? What day is this by you?
It's Tuesday, the 15th of August.
Yeah, see that? It's only Monday afternoon here.
It's weird, isn't it?
Amazing. It's amazing.
It is.
All right, David, thank you so much. All right. And
thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes, I'll be in touch.
Thank you.